Hello, everyone. Um, so today, this one's going to be a little longer than the last one. Big surprise. But today I want to talk about mantras, which are very similar to daily affirmations and why they can be important when you're in situations or circumstances beyond your control. And I know I've talked about looking at life from a perspective of taking away the things that we can't control and just focusing on the things that we can. But I think we all know that there are lots of situations that, again, go beyond our own control. And so, how do we manage that? And oftentimes, the way we manage that is not just the situation itself. Again, if we can't change it, but how we look at the situation and our attitude about the situation. So I'm actually going to start off today with a little anecdote, and many of you have probably heard before, and then we're going to go from there. So, a college professor walks into a class holding a glass of water on top of her head, and everybody thinks she's going to talk about the glass half full or glass half empty metaphor. But instead, she asked the class, "How heavy do you think this glass is that I'm holding?" And so everybody shouts out different answers, and essentially, and yes, I am reading this because I don't want to get it wrong. From my perspective, she says, the absolute weight of the glass is irrelevant. It all depends on how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute or two, it's fairly light. If I hold it for an hour straight, its weight might make my arm ache. If I hold it for a day straight, my arm will likely cramp up and feel completely numb and paralyzed, forcing me to drop the glass to the floor. In each case, the absolute weight of the glass doesn't change, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it feels to me. And obviously, the class shook their head nodded their heads in agreement. But as she continued, your worries, frustrations, and stressful thoughts are very much like this glass of water. Think about them for a little while and nothing drastic happens. Think about them a bit longer and you begin to feel noticeable pain. Think about them all day long and you will feel completely numb and paralyzed, incapable of doing anything else until you drop them. So, this kind of brings us to the point I'm making today that if you're struggling to cope with the weight of something that's on your mind, it is definitely a sign that it's time to put the glass down. Worries and frustrations and stressful thoughts are entirely a product of your own creation. You can let them go almost instantly by adjusting your attitude or the way that you see your situation. So I'm gonna, challenge you to do that. And I took from my favorite people, Mark and Angel, 20 different mantras. And I'm just gonna put them out there, and I will say them slowly, and then I'm gonna be done, and I'm just gonna give them to you. And these, you pick one or more than one to use by repeating them to yourself the moment you feel negativity creeping up inside of you. Okay? And that's it. So one, and I won't number them, I'll just go. Most people make themselves unhappy simply by finding it impossible to accept life just as it is presenting itself right now. Be mindful. Happiness doesn't start with a better relationship, a better degree, a better job, or more money. It starts with your thinking and what you tell yourself every day. You may not be able to control all the things that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. When you are no longer able to change a situation, you are challenged to change yourself, and you do so in turn, and doing so in turn changes everything. You alone get to choose what matters and what does not. The meaning of everything in your life has precisely the meaning you give it. Use your struggles and frustrations today to motivate you rather than annoy you. You are in control of the way you look at life. Worrying never changes the outcome. Breathe more and worry less. Train your mind to see the lesson in every situation and then make the best of it. I need to use an example, and he may not be happy with me, but worrying never changes the outcome. This is something that someone very close to me, I'll just say that, says very often to me, and said a few times something similar this week when he had issues with his vehicle, and we were in a situation where we were far from home and couldn't get the car fixed, and we're trying to figure out what was going on. And everyone around him was getting, anxious and worried about it. And his whole thought was, regardless of the outcome of this situation, I can either focus on it, get anxious, worried, frustrated, angry, but no matter what, the outcome is still going to be the same. And it could either be no big deal, a battery issue, whatever, or it could be a serious issue. But right now, I can't deal with it. It's not something I can fix right now. And I will definitely deal with it when I get home. But no matter what, he made the point to all of us that essentially, again, that worrying and getting anxious and consistently thinking about it and talking about it wasn't going to change the outcome. And and so I point that out because obviously this is something that we all did just very subconsciously. And so I think that everybody does this. We have to sometimes recognize that, you know, we don't have control again over so many things, right, in our lives. Um, and so because of that, sometimes we have to recognize what we have control over, what we don't have control over, and worrying about what we don't have control over, again, isn't going to change the outcome of that. And reminding ourselves of that is extremely important. And I'm gonna repeat that mantra because now I know I just interrupted it with my own story. But I felt like I needed to point it out because it's just ironic that that all just happened in real life. So worrying never changes the outcome. Breathe more and worry less. Train your mind to see the lesson in every situation and then make the best of it. Be selective in your battles. Peace always feels better than being right. You simply don't need to attend every conflict you're invited to. This is something that I oftentimes have to remind myself, especially when topics come up that I feel strongly about. I have to realize that I don't always have to put my 2 cents in. Um, and that's something that I certainly struggle with and have tried to work on myself. Even when you are upset, don't be hateful. Keep your heart and mind wide open. Peace is not the absence of pain, but the presence of love. I try to tell many of my clients, especially my littles, pause before you respond. I always say pause and respond, pause and respond. When we're upset, it's easy to have an emotional reaction, and sometimes that reaction isn't really what we want to say or what we mean to say, and sometimes it can be very hurtful. And so when we are upset, let's try to stop and pause, reflect for a second, and then respond, and hopefully it's coming from a better place or a different place than that negative emotion. Just wish people well, even if they're rude to you. Embracing their negative energy only harms you at the end of the day. Smile and move forward. I know that's not easy all the time. Happiness and a negative mindset can't coexist. Those who move forward with a positive attitude will find that things always work out better. Truth be told, we either make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong. In the end, the amount of work is the same. When you really pay attention, everyone and everything is your teacher. Take time to observe and listen. Take time to learn something new. We learn the way on the way. Let go of everything from the past that does not serve you, and just be grateful it brought you to where you are now. This is to this new beginning. Think of all the hundreds of thousands of steps and missteps and chances and coincidences that have brought you here. In a way, it feels like the biggest miracle in the world. The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you accept that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. I'm going to repeat this one. The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you accept that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. Letting go isn't about having the ability to forget the past. It's about having the wisdom and strength to embrace the present. Stepping onto a brand new path is difficult, but not more difficult than remaining in a situation that no longer fits or no longer exists. Sometimes you simply have to stop fretting, wondering, and doubting. Have faith that things will work out, maybe not how you planned, but it's just how it's meant to be. And the last one, head up, heart open to better days approaching. And that's it. Everyone have a great day.